Good morning, student. In chapter number 3, our next topic is economic expansion. Part number 5 of this chapter. All of you listen it very carefully. Economic activities of the ancient Roman Empire. The empire had substantial or considerable economic infrastructure of harbors, mines, quarries, brickyards, olive oil factories, etc. Wheat, wine, and olive oil were traded and consumed in huge quantities, and they came mainly from Spain and Gallic provinces, North Africa, Egypt, and to a lesser extent Italy, where conditions were best for these crops. Liquids like wine and olive oil were transported in containers called the amphorae. The fragments and shards of a very large number of these survive, and it has been possible for archaeologists to reconstruct the precise shapes of these containers. Tell us what they carried and say exactly where they were made by examining the clay con- uh, content and matching the finds with clay pits throughout the Mediterranean area. In this way, we can now say that with some confidence that Spanish olive oil, to take just one example, was a vast commercial enterprise that reached its peak in the year 140 to 160. The Spanish olive oil of this period was mainly carried in a container called Dressel 20. Dressel 20 are widely scattered across sites in the Mediterranean area. This suggests that Spanish olive oil circulated very widely indeed. By using such evidences, our archaeologists are able to show that Spanish producers succeeded in capturing markets for these olive oil from their Italian counterparts. This would only have happened if Spanish producers they supplied a better quality oil at the lower price. In other words, if we are saying the big landowners from the different regions competed with each other for control of the main markets of their goods which they produced. The success of the Spanish olive growers was then repeated by North African producers. Olive estate in this part of the empire dominated production through most of the 3rd and the 4th century. The Roman Empire in the later after 425 the Northern African dominance was broken by the East, and in the late 5th and the 6th century the Aegean, the Southern Asian miners, Syria, uh, Palestine became major exporter exporter of wine and the olive oil, and the containers from Africa show a dramatically reduced presence of the Mediterranean markets. The Roman Empire included regions that had a reputation of exceptional fertility. Example, Campania, Campania in Italy, Sicily, the Fiume in the Egypt, Galley, Belgium, then southern Gaul, called the Gallia Narbonensis, and the White Betia. now were all among the most densely settled and the wealthiest parts of this empire. According to writers like the Strabo and the Pliny, the best kind of wine came from the Campania, Sicily, and the Belgium. Exported large quantities of wheat to Rome. Galley was densely cultivated, and Spanish olive oil came mainly from the numerous estate along the bank of the rivers in the south of the Spain. Now, um, if we are talking about the Spain, in Spain, in the north of the Spain was much less developed as and inhabited largely by the Celtic speaking peasantry that lived in the hilltop villages called the Castilla. When we think the Roman Empire, we should never forget these differences. We should also be careful not to imagine that because this was the ancient world, their forms of cultures and economic life were necessarily backward and primitive. On the contrary, diversified applications of water power around the Mediterranean as well as the advance in water power milling technology, the use of the hydraulic mining techniques in the Spanish gold and the silver mines, and the gigantic industrial scale on which those mines were worked in the first and the second centuries. The existence of well organized commercial and banking network we also saw, and the widespread use of money are all indicates of how much we tend to understand estimate the sophistication of the Roman economy. This raises the issue of the labor and the use of slavery. So in the next topic, we will discuss about the slavery, or our next topic uh, will be controlling the workers, how these people they control on the workers and on the slaves. Thank you.